What's going on, everyone, man? It's your boy Zuko here today, and today I'm here to show you guys everything you're going to need to know about Omni Movement and Black Ops 6. I have a lot here to show you guys, so strap in and like the video if you like the information. Don't forget it, because I know you will. And if you want to enjoy more content from me, hit the subscribe button and comment something if you learn something new or whatever. There's a few things I would like for you guys to change that'll make Omni Movement easier, because I'm not just going to show you Omni Movement and all the tech that you can find with it. I'm also going to show you how to use it, and I'm also going to show you how to actually use it with aim. I'm even going to tell you how to actually counteract what it's doing, so that way you don't have to use certain perks like dexterity, and if you want to use them, what it's actually doing, all the detail, not just showing you a little basic guide of Omni Movement. Now I'm gonna give you scenarios and when to use what, and show you what's optimal already and what's not optimal, and what just looks cool but in all reality it's not optimal. So first things first is movement. You need to have tactical sprint assist on. The first reason why is a lot of people don't have this on is because they feel like, oh, I don't want to be sprinting and then I have to aim in and I get the slower version of zooming in, but that doesn't matter, because if you dive, you zoom in immediately. If you slide, you zoom in immediately. And if you walk back, you actually will have the same aim in speed of you standing still if you're walking back. So there's no need not to have tactical sprint on. You have 3 ways to counteract all of that. Anyways, sprint restore and slide maintain sprints, these need to be on. Mantle cancels reload, this needs to be off. For combat here, you want to have your weapon mount activation on toggle. This is really important. And then you want your weapon mount exit on instant. This is also really important. A lot of people forget about that. Moving on, you want this on, you want this motion off, you want this off, you want this off, that you want this on 50, this on 50. All of this is really important. Another thing I would recommend is go to your gameplay HUD, and you need to turn your hit marker visuals off. This is cluttering your screen up quite a bit, and it doesn't need to be there. You don't need hit markers to tell you that you hit something. The game gives you an audio cue that does that for you, so you can just turn it off. For your crosshair, I'll put this on center dot. You don't need the spread, that does nothing for you. Knowing the spread of a weapon doesn't make any sense, because you still have to aim at the body or aim at the head or aim at the neck if you're trying to get a headshot, or aim at the body if you're shooting with a shotgun. It's kind of self-explanatory why you don't need that. It's just cluttering up your screen once again. So just put center dot on. One thing I would recommend is getting your color to be exactly this one. This is the best color. You can be aiming at something that has a green like overlay around it, and it will still be clear as day, because it's a color that the game and nothing in this game will ever be able to recreate. So run it like that. Run your center dot scale on larger. Do not put it on largest. This will be too big to where you can't click on someone's head or see someone's head while you're actually trying to aim at them. And it also gets in the way of the body, especially if you're doing a little bit more medium to long range. So I wouldn't put this on largest. It's a little bit too big, and large is just perfect spot. One last thing, make sure your vertical sensitivity multiplier is a little bit up from your regular sensitivity, just because of the simple fact that there's a lot of verticality in this game. Verticality doesn't just mean going up, it also means going down. You have to either know if they're going down or know if they're going up, because Omni Movement allows for both of these to be very dangerous. So you need to make sure that you have a higher vertical sensitivity than your actual regular. Not too much to where you lose your 1-to-1 ratio, but just enough to where it's easier on you. This is great for recoil control, but it's also great for tracking people who are jumping up and jumping or sliding down, or staying down in the drop shot sort of formation, for all the things we're going to talk about. This is huge. I would highly recommend, I promise you guys, if you're struggling to recoil control in this game, this little setting will change your life. And I would highly recommend as well, you put your ADS sensitivity multiplier on 1. Because again, movement is so fast in this game. Everyone's running around so fast. If you cannot keep up with your ADS, you're just going to get beamed. So you need to have that like so. Now, since we've got all of the settings out of the way, welcome everyone to the video. I know it was a lot, but let's get into exactly what you're going to need to know in order to be able to Omni move like a pro. Slide cancel. Everyone's going to tell you need to sprint, right? If you have tactical sprint on, this is going to automatically trigger that. You just sprint and then you slide, right? And if you have on that sprint automatically sprints after slide, you should go immediately right back into it, so it's a natural slide cancel, right? But if you hit your jump button, you actually go ahead and cancel it whenever you want. This allows for you to basically redirect, you know, kind of do your own thing or whatever, right? You can kind of go crazy, but I will tell you do not actually do your slide cancels with jump anymore. You need to do them with your sprint. Your sprint is the better button to use. So you slide, sprint, slide, sprint, slide, sprint, slide, sprint. Now for the controller players, you might want to keep on your jump button, but this sucks for you. It is what it is. There's some tech that you can do whenever you start using your sprint button to cancel your slides instead of your jump. Now let's talk about jump slide. Jump slide is basically when you jump in the air and then you slide. All right. The thing that's cool about this is you can, again, cancel your momentum. If you sit there and you go ahead and press your sprint button again, or if you slide and you press your jump button again, you'll cancel yourself wherever you are. Now, the cool thing about this is you can jump and you can go this way. So like, let's say if you're like jumping over here, you can like slide like this now, right? So a jump slide is really, really good. You can go like this and then kind of go backwards, right? Or you can kind of like jump here and then slide backwards, right? So there's a lot that you can do with the jump slide tech. I just think that jumping into a slide is really, really nice. It's really effective and it's really, really cool. So jump slide. You have a slide sprint infinite in this game, which is basically you just running, you slide, and you kind of just keep doing this, and you just literally just hit your slide button every 2 seconds, and you'll be able to do this forever. You can jump slide forever too as well, but this is a really, really easy way to sort of like do this sort of mechanic here. You can always just, you know, slide cancel it whenever you want to. You can basically do this whenever you want. It's a really, really easy and effective way to sort of move in the game. You can pretty much do this forever. There will be no like downside. As you can see, you kind of do this forever. Now we have your slide crouch. Slide crouch is really important only if you pair it with other different techniques. So for example, if you slide and you kind of stop and you put yourself in, as you can see my player here, in this little motion here. But if you slide and then you crouch, now you're like drop shot it position, right? Kind of do your whole omni movement sort of thing here. You're kind of exactly where you want to be at. The reason why this is good is because this stops your momentum. So let's say we're trying to shoot someone here. We slide. We put ourselves dead in the tracks, right? This is called slide crouch. Slide crouch is really nice. You can slide crouch cancel, right? So look at my player model, right? And you can cancel out of it with a sprint. You cancel out of it with the jump. It's not going to be as good, but you can still do it. And this, what this does is just slows down your movement just a little bit, your momentum. And it allows for you to basically put your feet in front of you, making your body go a little bit lower, so it makes you just a little bit harder to hit. The reason why this is important because it pairs really well to something else that we're about to go talk about. Moving on. The next thing you have is your dive. Your dive is just going to be your simple dive. You can do this while going to the side. This is your hurry dive. You go forward, this is your forward dive. If you go backwards, this is your backwards dive. You can kind of go like this too. You can basically go in any direction you want. You can kind of dive. So side ones are really, really good. Not necessarily side like this. I feel like these are harder to track, but if you go like at an angle, they're really, really good. And your body's more like plane like, right? So to explain it, if you're shooting at someone here and you go like this, that's you would have like maybe like what, 2 shots to hit and then you're out of the picture. But if you go like this, you have about maybe 3 shots, right? So it's easier to kind of track this, and it's easier on you for centering. And since you're going diagonally down, it's a really, really hard thing to track. Most people track upwards to the left or upwards to the right, or just straight up or up like this, right? No one, or they go straight down. No one tracks down like this. That's a really, really hard angle for literally everyone. So I would highly recommend, if you're going to do dives, you need to do them at an angle like so, or at an angle like so, just because it forces depth into their aiming and not just left, right, up, down. Now you gotta go upwards to the left, now you go downwards to the left and add some depth, so it makes it harder to hit you. You can do like this. So we're gonna slide, sprint, and then dive. That's like the fastest way to do this, right? So you sprint and then dive. Again, I do not think this is effective. It's just cool that you can chain these this quickly. Now, if you are on keyboard and mouse and you're struggling to do omni movement, what I would highly recommend is you go to your keyboard and mouse settings, go to your keybinds, and put your prone dive to 4 and then your crouch slide to 5. Next thing we're going to talk about is peak crouching. There's another word for it, but I always forget the name of it. But basically, you just crouch and then you sprint and then you crouch. There's no medium cover that is going to be good in this game anymore for how the movement is, right? So I don't do this anymore, but it is still nice. I just don't think it's that effective because of how this game works now, you know? So cool. You can still peek crouch. It's still cool. Basically what you're doing is you're just going into a crouch, sprint, and then crouch back, sprint, crouch back, sprint. Talk about the dive spam. This is really, really cool. One of the coolest things that you can do right now is if you're basically diving, right? Boom. No, I messed it up. If you're diving, you can immediately do this over and over and over again. And the cool thing about this is you can kind of omnidirection this, so you can kind of use this as movement however you want, right? So you can pretty much do this forever, right? And they chain really well together. And this chains really well anytime you do a full-blown crouch. Anytime you're in a full-blown crouch, you can do another really quick one. And the tech that I use to do it every single time the fastest possible is the moment that hand comes out like that, you can do another one. See, that hand comes out, then you can go ahead and do another one. That's when you need to hit your crouch button again. So the moment you sprint forward and you see that hand come out, you can do another dive. So you can be on the ground and then dive again. Be on the ground, dive again. Be on the ground, dive again, right? And this is really, really cool because you can kind of like play around with it like so. So you're in a bad position, boom, right? Cool. Let me show you, I'm gonna show you a format where this makes a lot of sense to do so. But for right now, we're just gonna go ahead and start off with, like, let's say if you did a slide and you did a dive, you don't like what you got, you can go ahead and do another one. You don't like what you got, you can go ahead and do another one. You want to get behind cover again, you can do another one. You want to jump, you want to slide, you don't like what you got, dive, you don't like what you got, dive again, right? It's really, really simple, kind of like self-explanatory. I feel like this is where you need to not slide cancel with your jump button because it just doesn't work as good. But if you do it with your sprint button, you can dive again, right? See, if you do it off your jump, you can't do it, but if you do it off your sprint, you can, right? So you have to use your sprint button in order to do this. You can't use your jump cancel, you have to use your sprint. And this is the reason why I say sprint is superior here. You want to slide cancel with your sprint button, is just better. So yeah, moving on. The next thing that we're going to be talking about is going to be T mounting. Basically what this does is if you dive at something and you see the opportunity for a T mount, right? Or even in this situation, or if you slide to something, it'll automatically zoom you to it really quickly for a really quick shot, and then it'll break you back off depending on what you were doing. So let's say you're diving this way like so, right? And you see how it showed that T mount, or probably like right here, and it'll zoom you back up to that. This is really, really glitchy for them to guard like that, right? What happens is you dive and then you see like that, right? That's really, really glitchy. If you hold your momentum, or if you don't click anything, I mean, you'll actually be able to kind of like keep yourself in that spot like so, and then it'll drop you off later after that. That's pretty cool, right? And you can also use this as misdirection like so, right? I just did 2 of them right there, so it's cool. Like, I feel like it's one of those things where the more you kind of experiment with it, the more the tech kind of becomes a little bit better. Now let's go ahead and talk about the variations where this is going to make the most amount of sense, because knowing all the movement and all the cool angles and whatnot makes no sense if I can't show you a scenario where it's useful. So the first thing that we're going to show is going to be the actual angles of your dive. So when you dive, basically your camera, your aim goes up, then down, up. So up, down, up. And then if you jump, it goes up, then down, up. So as you can see it, my big green dot here. So you see if I jump, it goes up, then down, and then down, up. Now I do have on the perk right now that gun ho. If I put on dexterity, it actually basically cuts all of this in half immediately. If I go ahead and do it now, see, it doesn't move as much, right? It's basically stationary. As you can see, if I aim in, you can really see it. So it's up, down, up, down, up. Up, down, up. You see? So it's really, really nice to be able to know what your aim is going to have to compensate for whenever you do jump, especially like this, right? So if we jump, we see this, right? This is really important. Now we're going to talk about this because this is really, really important. Now whenever you slide, it goes up, right? So if you see when I slide, you see my aim goes up. So that means you need to actively keep yourself down to counteract your aim. So let's say if we're trying to stay on a level field with this thing here, bring it down, bring it down. See what I mean? See, it goes up, right? So you bring it down to keep it level so you can control what's going on whenever you slide. Now, if you slide forward, it does the same thing. It goes up. So if you slide, you need to bring your aim down. If you dive, it's going to do that up, down, up. And the down, up won't happen until you actually touch the ground. So you just make sure you're compensating for, instead of, because it's going to go up, down, you need to go, whenever you dive, down, up, right? And whenever you touch the ground, up, down, right? So again, if you dive, the moment you click your dive button, go down, then go up. The moment you touch the ground, there's going to be a quick little jerk. You can master that if you wanted to, but it's not that detrimental, just as long as you do this one. See, you're wanting to keep this on this as much as possible, right? You see, we're controlling that aim. If we don't control it, you see how much it's going all over the place, right? You just missed like 20 million shots, but if you can keep it on target like we are, you can go ahead and control this to where it's not going to be as detrimental for you. Now, be mindful of, again, if you're diving backwards, it's a little bit easier, but if you're diving forward, you don't have to compensate up as much. You just need to go down, right? So take into account, you know, physics and, you know, logic behind what you're doing, right? See what I'm saying? So if you're going backwards, you don't need to go down as much, but if you're going forward, you don't need to go up as much. Let's talk about another thing. This is really, really important whenever it comes to giving yourself room to work. If you are aiming in, as you can see, if I jump, I don't have any crazy movement kind of going on, right? I'm kind of just here. If you want to give yourself the crazy movement, you need to make sure you're putting yourself in a situation to win. And by doing this, let's say if you don't like your positioning, or let's say you just beat someone to this spot here and they're hiding behind this cover, or they were here and then they slid backwards to this cover, and you're trying to basically counteract their movement, because you're going to have to in this game. You can go ahead and let go of your aim for a second, and you just want to slide jump, and then you can now do this, right? You can do this while you're aimed in. So you just let go of aim, slide jump, and then you will continue that momentum of your slide. And it's basically like a 1-2 input. So you literally 1-2, and then you're going back into it. This is extremely important. This is like Apex, right? So let's say, again, you're shooting at this guy, they're right there, boom, 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 right? You need to be able to do this, because this is going to make it to where people will not be able to keep up. If their aim couldn't track their own movement, then their own movement just put them at a disadvantage, because I'm just going to mirror your movement. Now, the cool thing about this is you can also use this for retrieval purposes. So let's say I'm right here. Let's say this guy's shooting me. I don't like what I got. So if you do it, boom, you're going to be pretty good with it. So let's say you're again here, boom, boom. Let's say you're here with it, boom. And then you want to go back into it, right? Just like that. So bing, I don't like what I got. And then dive, right? So as you can see, you can kind of like play around with someone, right? Like so. You can kind of just spam this as much as you want to spam it. So that's basically really, really cool, because you're able to do all this while you're aimed in, right? Like that. And it's really, really fast. This is really, really important, because it allows for you to basically have like a sort of Apex sort of like jump dive like this, right? And the cool thing about this is you can pair this in with the slide crouch, right? And remember, if you slide crouch, the fastest way to get out of a slide crouch is to sprint. So now let's go ahead and talk about another few variations that you can use. Let's say if you're running this way and somebody shot you from here in this little peeky hole, right? So boom, you're running, hey, I got shot. First thing you want to do is, instead of you thinking, hey, let me go ahead and dive back and then hit like this, don't do that, because you just lost all your momentum. The best thing to do in this game, especially, let's just talk about dive. I don't think dive is that good. I think it's cool, and I think it's only useful in vertical situations, but in vertical situations, I still think the variation I'm about to show you is better. This is really, really not all that. Like, I mean, you're getting momentum, right? But you're not getting anything crazy. You only use this for the simple fact that, as you can see, your hitbox is going to be like really, really like horizontal, which makes you harder to hit. But technically speaking, jumping and then sliding is much better, because now you can clear more room. So let's say if someone did shoot you right here and you were running this way, instead of you like diving out and then coming back into it, right? So boom, he shot me, hold on, boom, right? Instead of doing like that, I would recommend is you go ahead and you jump and then you slide, because the jump is an easier recoil control. I just think that it's not as good. right? Because it's too one-dimensional if you dive. So let's say you're sliding this way, boom. If you're getting shot from the back, I would recommend doing backwards, like slide into a jump into a slide, or backwards slide straight into a slide crouch canceled into a sprint dive, or into a sprint into a slide. That's basically that. So with that being said, that's everything I have here for you guys. It's Zuko, man. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this movement guide. We out. Peace.